One of the very first fragrance houses that really kickstarted this channel was the house of Lattafa, and frankly, it was one of the first Middle Eastern fragrance brands to kind of just start this new wave of Middle Eastern perfumery. Granted, there have been a lot of different brands that have been out for a long time, and there are some really heavy hitters out there, but I feel like once Lattafa came out and that wave started, it really did just start with Lattafa. And so today I'm going to be going over 10 of my favorite Lattafa fragrances. In my opinion, these are some of the best ones that you can get from the brand. A lot of them are just very high quality smelling, they're smooth, and basically these are going to be the best that you can buy for yourself or for your loved ones. So stick around, make yourself comfortable, and let's jump right in. So starting off with an honorable mention, I didn't include this in the list just because of how it was blended. So this fragrance, Lattafa Khamrah, is a beautiful, creamy, sweet, boozy fragrance that reminds me a lot of that by Kilian Angel Share, but it's a little bit sweeter. It's got like a slightly scratchy musk, but it's also got a really unique kind of vanillic, almost like a coconut vibe. So for some reason, whenever I smell this, it causes my nose and my throat to kind of start to close up, and it gives me olfactive fatigue. So either I'm allergic to this one, or it's just so strong and potent that it just doesn't really do it for me. So it smells really great, it's sweet, and it lasts and projects like crazy. So in reality, this is going to be one of the longest lasting ones from Lattafa, but because of the notes that they use in there, it's a little bit scratchy and it's just not up to my taste. But if you're looking solely for performance, longevity, and really just compliment factor, then this is going to be a great one. It's just that I don't wear it that much simply because of that reason, and that one is Lattafa's Khamrah. So first up on the list is a beautiful, beautiful fragrance. In fact, all of these are gorgeous. This one is going to be Lattafa Pride Eternal Oud. I almost wanted to say Eternal Amber. So this is going to be very similar to Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Grand Soir. It does that same beautiful, boozy kind of vanilla. It's amber heavy, so it's gonna smell very warm, sweet, and it's gonna feel like it's just hugging you. And I use that analogy a lot, but this one really does feel like that. It smells comforting, and basically it's going to be a fall and winter staple. So if you really just want something that'll just kind of set yourself apart, it'll make people just kind of turn up their noses. They're gonna be like, who is that? Who walked by me? I need to know what that fragrance is. And this one just has that beautiful, alluring quality. It's just decadent, and it is so incredibly sexy. And so it's one of the most well-blended amber fragrances, and it's one of my favorites for the fall and winter. There is, I feel like, a little bit of oud in here, so it's got a little bit of a spice to it, but it's not as skanky oud. It's going to be a very smooth, just amber heavy fragrance with a very slight touch of that agar wood to give it a little bit of a supporting role. But ultimately, this is an alluring, just beautiful fragrance. It's a 10 out of 10, and that one is Lattafa Pride Eternal Oud. Now, next up is a new fragrance that I picked up, and actually I'm gonna save this one to the very end because it's gonna be worth it. So these really aren't in any particular order, they're just amazing fragrances. This next one is from La Collection des Antiquités from the Lattafa Pride line, and this one is 1910. So this is the motorcycle fragrance. Now, initially when I did the review on this one, it really wasn't one of my favorites, but as I started to wear it, I really started to appreciate it, and just such a beautiful fragrance this is. And honestly, it's a beautiful vanillic vibe. It's spicy, it's got a little bit of that Paco Rabanne designer take, and it's going to be basically a twist on that Paco Rabanne 1 million elixir DNA. So it's going to be very similar to that. There's some slight differences, but I love how this one smells because it's got that nice vanillic spice. It's got that osmanthus. It's a little bit syrupy, kind of fruity, peachy like, and it is just a beautiful vanilla tonka fragrance without being too cloying. You know, once the weather turns to that fall season, I'm gonna be rocking the heck out of this, but it smells so smooth, and it's basically a more affordable version of that Paco Rabanne 1 million elixir, which is one of my favorites in the line. And so that one is a really good choice for about that $35 to $40 mark, and that one is Lattafa Pride 1910. Now next up, we're looking at a very unisex fragrance. It's a little bit more feminine leaning, but I still love wearing it nonetheless. This one is Lattafa Pride's Eclaire. Actually, no, this one is just Lattafa. It smells like it could be Lattafa Pride because I love how high quality it smells. Now this fragrance is going to be for musk lovers and vanilla lovers. So to me, this just smells like a beautiful musky salted kind of caramel and vanilla. So it smells like spun sugar, and it's got a beautiful amber and musk in here. So if you like those kind of Ariana Grande cloud fragrances, if you like Maison Francis Kurkdjian Baccarat Rouge 540, it's not going to smell like that. It's going to have that same kind of olfactive profile where it's going to be sweet. It's going to have that spun sugar vibe. It's got some musk in there and amber, so it's going to smell perfect for the summer, and you can still smell very sweet and vanillic without being too headache inducing. And so this one has a beautiful creamy lactonic quality, so it almost smells like you just have like whipped cream or like a whole milk combined with your vanilla, like you just have it all in a bowl. And it is such a beautiful decadent fragrance, and really it's a really good value, especially for the like 8 to 10 hours that I get on skin. And really it just smells expensive, and you almost have a little bit of like a cinnamon, just like a cinnamon tonka vibe. So this one is a hidden gem for sure. If you're a fan of vanilla fragrances, then you definitely need this in your collection. And that one is Lattafa Eclaire, a slightly polarizing fragrance in the community. So some people are either going to love this fragrance or they're going to hate it, and I myself tend to lean towards the I love this one. Otherwise it would not be on this list. This one is Lattafa's Atlas. Now this is going to be a twist on Ortho Parisi's Mega Mare. So that is a beautiful, just oceanic sweet fragrance. It's got a little bit of that cologne DNA, so it's going to smell a little bit sweet, fruity, melon-like, but really it just smells like a crisp, mouth-watering fruit. And so this, to me, it just smells like a beautiful, beautiful aquatic gem. And so the way that they blend the notes in here, it doesn't smell as fake or as, you know, just cologne heavy. There's not too much of that seaweed, weird oceanic vibe like there are in some of the other fragrance clones, but I think this one does it amazing. At first I didn't love this one because it was a 50 ml, and I thought, oh, maybe they're just trying to cut corners and, you know, just get a bigger bottle, but I love the cap. It feels like a nice heavy niche fragrance cap, and the bottle looks really nice too, and just the whole presentation, it feels like they took a whole step up, and really you only need like 1 to 2 sprays of this stuff and you'll last all day. I don't mind them doing the 50 ml because if you had 100 ml of this stuff, you know, you would just be going nuclear. So I think that is a definite indication of how much you should be wearing. But it's a beautiful aquatic sweet fragrance with some uncommon notes in there, and that one is Lattafa Atlas. Now, if you're looking for a really nice date night fragrance, this one is going to be it. This one is Lattafa's Nasheet. Now, this is going to be a twist on Nishane's Ani, which is a spicy vanilla. It's got a little bit of a like citrus mandarin vibe, and it also has a beautiful cardamom. So the spices in here are absolutely breathtaking. So it kind of reminds me of a couple different fragrance profiles. It reminds me a little bit of the Mancera Cedrat Boisé, which is that kind of a Ventus style. This definitely has that nice citrusy orange quality. It smells like a candied orange, and you also have some of those beautiful, just sweet vanillic, slightly spicy notes from the Nishane Ani. And I feel like there could also be a touch of like some agar wood in here, just a touch, but it's a beautiful creamy orange. It's got some vanilla spices, and it really does just smell absolutely heavenly. And if you can get this for about the $30 mark, you are going to be getting a steal. And so this one is one of my favorites for the colder weather, and it's a great date night fragrance, and that one is Lattafa Nasheet. Now, if you're looking for another great date night fragrance, this one, oh my, this one is Lattafa's Al Nashama Caprice. This is going to be one of the best alternatives to that YSL La Nuit de l'Homme Bleu Electrique. It just has that really satisfying cardamom, the vanilla, and those beautiful ambers and just spices, and it really does smell very close to that, with also a little bit of a twist to it. And in my opinion, this actually smells better than the La Nuit de l'Homme Bleu Electrique. It adds a little bit more of a citrus. It's got like some lemon, it's got some orange in there, and it's got a little bit of a cinnamon spice and a little bit more of a depth and a body. And I did a full review where I compared this one to the Jack of Clubs and the original one. So if you want to check that out and see some of the differences between this, the original, and the Jack of Clubs, I did a full video on that. But I absolutely love this one. It smells way more expensive than it actually is. And again, it's about that $30 mark. So I think this is one of the best alternatives to that La Nuit de l'Homme Bleu Electrique. So sweet, vanillic, and spicy, and just very comforting. And that one is Al Nashama Caprice. Now, if you're wanting a more niche presentation, it's a little bit more expensive. It's like 50 to 60 bucks, but they are not playing around with this fragrance. This one is Lattafa's Niche Emarati Antique. So this is a really interesting bottle. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I'm not quite sure what to think. The cap is really interesting, and honestly, it's one of the most unique fragrance bottles that I have in my collection. But this one has a truly breathtaking kind of black tea vibe. It's got some cardamom, sweet spices, and it also has some iris, some coconut, and fig in there. So it's gonna smell very creamy, a little bit earthy, and it reminds me a lot of the Gris Charnel by BDK. So this is basically a copy of that with some subtle differences, I do wanna say, because a lot of these do deviate just slightly, but this definitely reminds me of that. And I remember I wore this when it was a little bit too warm outside in the spring, and I remember I just had this huge, immense scent bubble around me, and it was all that I could smell. No, this stuff performs like insane, especially in the warmer weather. So I would reserve this for the fall wear or even winter wear, but you only need a couple sprays of this because it is so strong. But it is a beautiful fragrance. It's strong, and it smells way more expensive than it actually is. And that one is a truly great alternative to that Gris Charnel. And that one is Lattafa's Niche Emarati Antique. Now this next one is going to be a clone and a twist on Initio Paragon, which is a wonderful plum. It's definitely sexy, it's creamy, it's vanillic, and it is just an amazing fragrance. But some people don't have the best projection or longevity in their bottles, and it's almost $250, $300 for that bottle. So it's an expensive fragrance, but it is a gem of a fragrance composition nonetheless. But this one, Lattafa Pride Vintage Radio, it's one of the first twists to that. And there's also the Al Nashama fragrance, the kind of yellow bottle, but I still think that this one is a fantastic choice. If it were down to me, I probably would pick this one just for me. It really is just down to which one is cheaper, but I still love this one, and I kind of go back and forth. But this has that wonderful candied plum. It's got some bergamot up top, and it's very creamy and musky, and so it's just got a really nice luxurious quality to it. And I honestly feel like this puts me at ease. There's also that really nice lavender in there, so it makes you relaxed, and it's a really nice settle down after a long day fragrance. And if you want to just cuddle with your significant other, your partner, then this is going to be perfect for that, because it's comforting, it's sweet, it's musky, and it really is just a nice, relaxing, high quality smelling fragrance. And the projection in this is insane. It's about probably 4 or 5 hours where it goes really strong. Probably the 4 hours actually, but you know, longevity is not going to be an issue, and it's one of my favorite Lattafa Pride fragrances, and that one is Vintage Radio. The second to last one, this one is another Lattafa Pride fragrance. This one is Lattafa Pride Art of Arabia 1. Now this is going to be a Louis Vuitton Imagination twist, and I absolutely love how this one smells. It's got a beautiful like ginger, it's got some grapefruit, it's like a candied citrus, and it's also got that interesting tea note in there. So it smells slightly metallic, but it's really just got this nice aquatic energy to it. And I want to say there's also a slight bit of cardamom in here that gives it some energy, but I feel like I also get some vetiver, and it really just does smell like a nice, sweet, aquatic, office-friendly fragrance. And it's got a really interesting just muskiness and airiness about it. And so whenever I wear this one, it absolutely makes me feel incredible. It lasts you all day. I get about 10, 11 hours, and even after I shower, it's like the water just reactivates some of those musky notes, and it just becomes even stronger at you. And so if you've noticed that the fragrance is starting to die down, take a shower, run some water over it, and you'll notice it start to kind of come up again. So it's like it reactivates it. But I absolutely love this one, and I think it's one of their best fragrances, and that one is Lattafa Pride Art of Arabia 1. Now, last but not least, one of my all-time favorites from the house of Lattafa, this one is Lattafa Sehr. Now, this fragrance is absolutely over the top with its presentation. It's got one of the largest and most heavy caps that I have ever seen. I did a review up here where I kind of unboxed it and did some first impressions, but since I first opened this fragrance, it's definitely mellowed out a little bit. So it had absolutely nuclear just projection when I first tried it. I sprayed one spray and it's all I could smell for like a day on my clothes, and just it literally got in my nostrils, and it's like it just imprinted itself into my brain. But this is a wonderful, wonderful vanilla musk fragrance, and it smells very similar to Tom Ford's Vanilla Sex. So if you like that really nice musky, vanillic, kind of salty, sultry skin tone, it smells similar to that, but in my opinion, it doesn't have that real synthetic Play-Doh vibe, and I feel like this smells even better. It adds a little bit of a tonka and cinnamon sweetness, and it really just, it's just an amazing all-around fragrance. And I think for the ladies, you're gonna definitely love this one. And I've worn this on my skin many times, and I have got multiple family members and friends comment on it asking what I'm wearing. And so it definitely will spark some conversation because it's super vanilla heavy, and it's just very uncommon to smell something like this. Also, the almond in here adds a really interesting, slightly nutty and creamy tone that really just rounds everything together. So if you like tonka, vanilla, and almond, this is going to be your friend. And again, the projection and longevity is insane on this one. And with this fragrance, it's basically like Lattafa just said, hey, let's try to think way outside of the box. Let's try to make a niche presentation for $50, and let's just go all out. Let's just shock everybody and just try to wow them. And you know, some people may love this, or they may find it kind of tacky and a little bit gaudy, but in my opinion, this one just kind of blew my mind, and I feel like the weight and the heft of this bottle definitely reflects the quality of the juice inside. And so absolutely love that one. And that one is Lattafa Sehr. So those are 10 of my favorite Lattafa fragrances. I think these are still some of the best fragrances that you can get. And granted, there are a ton other Lattafa fragrances, and I haven't even talked about the Maison Alhambra ones, because I know technically Maison Alhambra is a sub company of Lattafa, but I really just wanted to stick to Lattafa and Lattafa Pride for this video. So let me know down in the comments if you've tried any of these, or if you have any favorites from the house, because again, this is one of the fragrance brands that kind of kickstarted the channel. It sparked my love of Middle Eastern fragrances, and I feel like for a lot of people, it was their gateway into the Middle Eastern realm and the Middle Eastern niche realm. So thanks again so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm Eli with Common Sense. Until the next time, bye-bye. That one is Vintage Radio. I was literally about to drop that on my foot. That would have been devastating. That bottle is so freaking heavy.